Get ready. We've got a big one that begins on Monday. Opening statements in the case against Lori Daybell, the so-called Doomsday cult mom. This is a story, a case, an investigation, and now a trial we've been tracking for years now here on your front row seat to justice. It's a story with many different layers, but the focus will always be the victims. And there's three in this trial. One is Tammy Daybell, Chad Daybell's first wife, who died. And then 2 weeks later, Chad married Lori. Then there are the two children, Tylee and JJ. Innocent kids. I mean, JJ, cutest little guy, special needs, great spirit, great smile, loved his grandparents. You know, just a young kid running around. And then there was Tylee. She was a teenage girl, so sometimes there's a little friction between mom, but she was growing up. You watch some of these interviews with police and the body. I mean, she's very mature. And there were times where I saw Tylee and Lori together, and Tylee was like the grown-up of the two. And she's gone now. And she's gone. So the person on trial, there are co-defendants in the case, but the case has been severed. So it's just Lori Daybell, also known as Lori Vallow Daybell. Court TV legal correspondent Chanley Painter has more on exactly who Lori is.
Lori Noreen Cox was born in San Bernardino, California in 1973. She and her brother Alex grew up in a Mormon family. Lori has been married 5 times. She was reportedly only 19 years old when she got married the first time. In the mid-90s, she had her first child, Colby, with her second husband. Lori then married Joseph Ryan in 2001. He legally adopted Colby, and they had Tylee. But the marriage did not last. 5 years after their divorce, Lori married her fourth husband, Charles Vallow. The couple adopted his grandnephew, JJ, in 2014. And by all accounts, Lori was a loving and devoted mother.
Lori was a good mother. When JJ was young, you couldn't ask for a better mother.
While married to Charles, she began an affair with religious author and leader Chad Daybell. Lori was soon a devoted member of Daybell's cult-like group.
Their focus is just so much on the end of the world and, you know, this idea that it's coming.
In July 2019, Charles Vallow was shot and killed by Lori's brother, Alex Cox.
But it was so fast. All that was so fast. Like, I'm on the ground, rolling around, and I'm screaming.
Lori married Chad that November in 2019. Now, Lori Daybell, in jail since 2020, no longer lives a life as a wife or a mother. She is inmate number 011-38519 and may very well spend the rest of her life behind bars.
There she is. I mean, a wild, wild life, but a big change. There was a point where things changed, and we've heard that from so many people that we've spoken to. Let's bring in Court TV legal correspondent Chanley Painter, joining us live outside the courthouse in Boise, Idaho, where this is taking place. The murders all taking place in Rexburg on the other side of the state. So Chanley, bring us up to date exactly where we are and what the status of this jury is.
Yeah, Vinny, so I'm out front of the Ada County Courthouse. It's going to look a lot different on Monday. We expect this plaza to be packed with media, members of the public, those who guarded one of those coveted 60 seats inside that courtroom. I am one of them. I will be there. And there's an overflow room, a listening room here as well, where we expect people to watch this unfold. And it's all on the heels of seating a jury after several days of voir dire jury selection process. Earlier today, this jury of 18 seated, 12 jurors with 6 alternates. It's going to be a long trial, 8 weeks. And of those 18, 10 are men, 8 are women. And it took several days to narrow down the pool to reach this number. And we don't know for sure, based on our previous listening to jury selection, which jurors there are. But here's an example of what we have been hearing from that courtroom. Again, we get the audio, but we're not able to see it unfold, but we do get the audio a day after. So let's listen.
Why did the name ring a bell?
It just sounded familiar. Just the name, the last name Daybell, just sounded familiar. But other than that,
anything in like a negative connotation, positive?
no.
Okay. Do you use any, like, do you look at news on your phone or Google or any of that?
No, my news feed is very specifically nerd stuff.
When you say nerd stuff, what does that mean? Because no one wants to assume what nerd means. So
Science stuff, video games, anime. I'm not a big fan of like life news.
And that was juror 1447, Vinnie. Even Lori herself laughed during that lighthearted moment in jury selection. She seemed very involved. She would take notes. She would confer with her attorneys today as they were making strikes. So we expect her to be involved on Monday once this gets underway with those opening statements.
And that's a very significant point you're making there, Chanley, because this is a case where at some point she's been determined to be not competent to stand trial. But if she's laughing and getting the jokes and going, you know, and talking with the lawyers, seems like she is there. So that's good news, because we want the trial to move forward and we want the jury to tell us what happened here. So what can we expect on Monday inside the courtroom and outside the courthouse?
We'll be here bright and early to be prepared to be inside the courtroom for opening statements. Again, those begin at 10:30 a.m. Eastern time. We're on Mountain Time here in Boise, Idaho, and we expect those jurors to show up. They will be sworn in, some preliminary instructions, and then the prosecution will deliver, of course, those all-important opening statements. And we're learning that prosecutor from Fremont County, Idaho, hundreds of miles away, Lindsay Blake, will be the one delivering those openings for the prosecution on Monday, Vinnie. We also expect the defense to deliver an opening statement as well before those first witnesses are called. This is the door where Lori Vallow's defense team will arrive and depart every day. They're under strict admonition. They're under a gag order. They can't speak to the media. And so what will her defense be? They have filed a notice of alibi. Let's take a look at that. Lori Vallow says she wasn't there at the time of the murders of her children or Tammy Daybell. She says that she was in her own apartment in Rexburg, Idaho, when J.J. Vallow and Tylee Ryan died in the apartment of her brother, Alex Cox. And she was either with Melanie Gibb, David Warwick, and or Chad Daybell, her soon-to-be husband at that time. So will that still be what she says her attorneys say in opening statements? We'll have to find that out, Vinnie. But again, I have my seat reserved. I will be in there, eyes and ears, and I can't wait to be on with you on Monday to bring you all the details of what she's doing, what she's wearing, what the witnesses are saying. We'll have it all.
Chanley Painter in Boise. All right, rest up. It's going to be an intense 8 weeks out there in Idaho. Thanks so much for your great reporting. All right, let's bring in our think tank. Joining us tonight from Washington, D.C., trial attorney. You recognize him, lead attorney for Johnny Depp during his defamation case. Ben Chu is with us. Also with us tonight in Miami, Florida, former prosecutor Sue Ann Robinson. And in San Diego, California, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor Brian Watkins. You can always speak to him at brianwatkinslaw.com. There he is. Great to see everyone tonight. And Chanley reporting about this alibi. So I'll start with you, Brian. We've been talking about this a lot for years now. Do you think she's going to point the finger at her dead brother? Alex did it. Another Alex, right? We spent all this time with Alec Murdaugh. We got Alex Baldwin, and now we got Alex Cox is going to be the bad guy here, the guy who died on the toilet. Is that where they're going?
Absolutely. You know, she gave us the notification that that's what she's going to be doing when she filed the alibi witness. So she's saying I had nothing to do with it. I wasn't even there. And who better to point, the finger at than somebody who can't really defend themselves? So it's a smart move. I anticipated that move. I don't know if the prosecution anticipated that move, but I definitely think that's where she's going with it.
All right, Sue Ann, let me ask you about zombies. I don't know how familiar you are with zombies, but in this case, it seems everyone who dies is first identified as a zombie by Lori and Chad, Charles, her husband, Tammy, his wife, Tylee, JJ, zombies. So if she's calling them people zombies, her and her husband, and then these people are dying, how does that play? Like, what do they do with it? 'Cause that's going to be part of the evidence here. Can you point the finger at Alex and somehow say the zombie thing has nothing to do with it?
Right. It's going to be, it's almost like consciousness of guilt, right? That she's calling them zombies right before they actually leave the earthly plane. So I think it's going to be hard for her to explain away. If she was my client, I'm not putting her on the stand because she's obviously had issues with competency that you discussed before. Not competent. She's in there. She's interacting with her attorneys in front of the jury. So that's going to be difficult.
You don't think she could be persuasive? She got married 5 times.
Listen, I don't doubt that she can be persuasive. I think marriage and being on trial for murder, such a horrible murder, including 2 of your children, is a completely different ballgame than convincing somebody to give you a ring. Just my opinion. I've only been married once, so,
Ben, last hour I spent some time on this case, and I just described everything as very strange. It's this very strange world now that has to be described, and you've got to explain it to the jury. From the prosecution's perspective here, how do you do that on Monday with your opening statement? How do you take them into this bizarre world of religion and zombies and sex and betrayal and this pile of dead bodies?
Vinny, that's a great question. I think you begin at the basics. For the prosecutor, I think you want to remind them that for all this strangeness that they're going to hear about and zombies and lack of capacity, that we're dealing with people who were murdered, brutally murdered, especially the children. And I would start with that and make it very clear to the jury how serious it is and not let it become some kind of a sideshow.
Because that sideshow could take over, Brian. I mean, you look at all the strange behavior that's going on in this case, the strange relationship Lori and her brother had. I mean, wherever she lives, he lives. And his ex-wife, Alex's ex-wife, described Lori and Alex as like brother and sister, like being very comfortable with each other, like very comfortable, like simulating acts in front of their parents. Like there's so many bizarre facts like that strewn throughout this case. Do you think the jury gets distracted by that?
Because
I clearly have. I've been distracted by that. I'm wondering if the jury's going to be distracted by this.
Exactly. They are uncomfortably comfortable, and I think the jury's going to hear that. And I think it's going to go against her because the bottom line here is it's a lot of crazy stuff going on. And what do we have here in front of us? We have a crazy case where a mother would kill her own children or at least be involved in the murder of her own children. That's crazy. And everything fits together under the crazy category. And she's going to fit right in there nicely. And it's going to be very difficult for her to separate herself out from that, to say, I'm not crazy. I'm normal. I'm doing normal things. I wasn't even there. I had nothing to do with this. It's going to be a tough case for her. And clearly the main reason why her case is going to be so tough is because she's the mother. And when a child dies, it's the mother's responsibility because they're under your care, custody, control. Where were you? And why did you let them die? Is it something that the jury's going to go in saying, you better convince me that you're a good mother? I don't know that she's able to do that.
Is there any explanation that the defense or she could have, Sue Ann? Here you're saying, well, I wasn't there when the kids died, yet you never told anyone, you never looked for them, you never reported them dead, you ran off to Hawaii with your new husband, the newly widowered husband, and you ran off to Hawaii with him. How did they explain this lack of concern for her own children?
I think the defense is always going to have to defend, right? They have to put up a defense. They have to give something. I think the explanation that I would go with if it was my client is say that she's under the Daybell spell, right? That she is part of this alleged cult, that she's under his dominion and control at that time, and he's influencing her behaviors, her actions, her activities, her responses, and that's what's happening with her at that time. She's going to have to say that in that moment or pursuant to that relationship, she abandoned her motherhood duties, because as our other guest said, absolutely, the jury is looking to her as the mother, as where were you? What were you doing? Why weren't you protecting your cubs, right? You're the mother bear, where were you? And we know where she was. She was hanging out. She was with her new man. So that's why I said I would never have her on the stand, because she's gonna have a lot of explaining to do.